106 of Uncensored. I am your host, Keith Andrew. Along here is a good friend of mine, Connie Bowman, and I just want to say thank you for accepting my request.
Oh, sure. I'm excited to be on your show, Keith.
Now, for people who want to know what Uncensored is, Uncensored's my way of showing people that even with a learning disability, I can still overcome controversy and reach my goals in life. At the same time, turning myself into a perfect example for people out there deaf, blind, or in a wheelchair, or mentally challenged, or whatever label you want to use. That, you should never label yourself or have people label you. If you're very passionate and if you're capable of doing something you love, you should prove to them you can still amount to something. And that's basically the whole point I'm making, just making a statement.
I love that, Keith. I think that's so beautiful. Everybody's born into this world and we're all equal and we all have a potential that God gave us to live out. And, we all have little challenges. Everybody has them. And, we just have to kind of learn to live together with all of our unique differences. And wouldn't that be awesome if that could be?
That's true. The place, the world would be a better place.
Dogs and cats, people like Wilson. This is Wilson, our doggy.
Hey, Wilson. like Mr. Wilson, or just Wilson?
Okay, so Wilson is my son's dog. He's in college. He was named after the volleyball in the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks. Do you remember that?
Oh, where he's talking to this wooden plank, Wilson.
His the volleyball. He's out on the raft that he made, and Wilson floats away, and he goes, Wilson! So he's our Wilson. He's our little special volleyball, our little companion.
Speaking of Castaway, did you like Life of Pi, or never saw it?
You know what? I keep turning that on and catching it at the very end, but it is beautiful, and I want to go back to it and watch it, because it looks like it's beautifully shot. So, yeah. And I've heard everybody loves it. My daughter watched it, and she absolutely loved it. So I haven't seen it in its entirety, but I plan to.
I keep seeing it from the middle to the end, but animals being killed or animals fighting, I couldn't do without that. But
yeah, I know, that's tough.
Now I'm in the dark.
What's your favorite movie?
Well, I hope you don't mind, but I'm in the dark. The lighting's kind of like. My favorite movie. I have a lot. When I was a kid, it was Dumbo and Jungle Book. That's how I came up with the fan-made parodies. When I was in high school, and this is one of the questions I was going to ask you. When I was in high school, one of the movies that impacted my life in my sophomore year was Almost Famous.
Oh, and why did that impact your life? In what way?
Well, at the same time, I was doing the audio-visual department stuff, creating videos, helping out with the shows. And it's like, this is what I want to do. At the time, this is what I want to do. And I talked to a couple of girls who were producers, and it's like, hey, would you mind if I went on tour with you and be your roadie? And I can be your personal assistant, and did this. I was trying to take Almost Famous and try and turn it into a reality. So I was trying to mirror, okay, if he's doing this, how can I mirror doing this in a reality? So at the time, for about 2004, 5, 6, even 2007, I wanted to be a personal assistant, be a roadie, go on tour, but then I came up with this idea. So I think this is probably a little more realistic than going on tour.
Yeah, and it uses all those audio-video skills that you honed early on.
The one scene in Almost Famous that scared the shit out of me at the time was the airplane scene where they're...
We can say that on Uncensored, right?
Yeah, it's uncensored. You can say anything you want.
I love it. Awesome.
So the scene where it basically scared the shit out of me, and Also, after 9/11, this also bothered the hell out of me. It's where they're on the airplane and they're going through the thunderstorm and the airplane's going straight, and it drops. Then the engines like turn off and you're like start free falling. It's like, yeah, I don't want to be on an airplane.
I know. I think about that all the time. Those poor people. Crazy.
And speaking of, 9/11, I used to love airplanes. I would say I would love, if you go on the airplane, I don't mean to get this image in your head, so you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to.
That's okay. Let's go with it.
So I was like, I want to go to Japan, and I still do. I still want to go to Japan, to China, to England. Is there an easier way we can get there? How about I joke with my brother and my dad. How about build a bridge from America to England? It's like, are you an idiot? Have you looked at a globe recently? They're not going to build a bridge in the middle of the ocean. They could.
They could do tunnels.
Yeah, that would work too.
I don't know. Nothing's impossible. That's what I believe. Nothing's impossible.
What about you? You have a fear of airplanes, or are you used to?
I get on a plane and I say a prayer, and I get a little nervous, I think. But then, once I'm up there, it goes away. I'm kind of at a point in my life where I've lived a happy life, and I agree with you, though. That's not the way I'd want to go. I don't want to be, screaming on the way down, but, no. I'm not super afraid of airplanes.
Well, you can always take an Ambien and just wake me up when I'm there.
Yeah. I have some great meditation CDs. I have Wilson's hair in my mouth. Some great meditation CDs, and I just put my earphones in, and I can kind of, drown out all the sounds and just snooze. So right. I just came back from a trip the other day too. So.
Oh, where did you go?
I went out to Arizona. Have you ever been there?
Heard of it. Always wanted to go, but never went so far. Was it nice?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's like the weather this time of year is perfect. And we came back just in time for that polar blast. Yeah, so it was really cold when we got back. So we were kind of like, why are we coming back? But
all right. Well, like I said, we're having fun, so you can say anything you want, talk about anything you want. This is basically what my interview is supposed to be, instead of being the same old. So, what can you tell me about you can't see, I'm holding my hand up to a mic. What can you tell me about yourself? And it's kind of like, instead of that, it's just, I like it being interactive, joking around.
Yeah, you're keeping it real. I like that. I like that idea.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Now, the next question I was going to ask you, when you were in high school and college, especially college, were you a party animal, study nerd, and were you just like a crazy girl, or were you just into studying?
I was somewhere in the middle. I'm never one way or the other. You can't put me in a box. Sorry. I studied probably not enough, and I partied probably too much. So I don't know. No, I was a good student, but I had fun. I loved college. I had a really good time in college.
Now, for sports, did he ever do sports? Yeah, or did?
Well, when I was in high school, I started doing musical theater, and so I was more of a drama geek. And I guess maybe that's a little type that I was. I was sort of a drama geek. But our drama in high school, we had such a great. I love this about my high school. We had such a great inclusionary school that, like, the people in drama were also on the football team, and it crossed all, like, different people did all the different things. So we all got along, and it was awesome, which I don't think happens as much in high schools these days. That everybody has to be so, like, super dedicated to the soccer team, and you can't play anything else, and you can't do the school play. It should be a little more spread out, I think. I think it would make for a happier school.
No, that's true. Well, you bring up a good point now. We're talking about schools. Do you think you got everything you wanted in your education, or do you think, and this is for both high school and college, and do you think you could have gotten more out of it, or do you think you just...
Oh, definitely. You know, don't you look back? I feel like I look back all the time and think, gosh, if I could go back, I would enjoy, because there were so many classes that were interesting to me that I was just trying to get through. You know, and now I think about it, and I also look at what my kids have done in school, in college, and the classes that are available now. Oh, they're so cool. I mean, like, let me think. Like, some of the film classes are more specific, and I always loved women's studies, and we didn't have that back then, and my daughter took women's studies at Penn State, and there's just so much more now. So, yeah, I could have gotten a lot more out of school, I think. I don't know. Could you have? What do you think?
Well, now we're comparing schools. Basically, the school I went to was a rich, snobby bunch of backwards ass fucks. And like I said, it's uncensored. You can say whatever you want.
Yeah, go for it, girl. Dude.
And if I use the F word, I apologize. Don't mean to offend you.
No, it's okay. I hear it every once in a while.
So basically, sum it up, if you had money, you got to do whatever you want. And basically, you look at the kids and you're doing steroids, or because they were being on a wrestling team and they want to wrestle with each other. And if you weren't an in-person or a clique or a jock or a bimbo, you basically got the staff. You had to deal with all the crap. Like me, I was on the outside looking in. And basically what it came down to is money, and just, if you didn't know the right people, it's just basically how it came out to.
Yeah, that's too bad. Because, you know, a good school will find a place for everybody and make everybody feel important. So, that's too bad.
Yeah.
You go back and do it again. Create your own school.
That would be nice. Now the next question I was going to ask you, you mentioned you were athletic and did you do sports. Did you ever get the chance to do one of those human pyramids, or are you not a human pyramid girl?
Oh my gosh, what a great question. Just random, but good. I don't think I ever did a human pyramid, and I should put that on my bucket list, shouldn't I? That would be fun. I don't think... Now, okay, if you were in a human pyramid, would you rather be on the top or the bottom? That's what you'd have to figure out.
Well, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I always wanted to do one since I was 4. I know, I'm a loser. But,
we should totally get that together.
Yeah, if you're ever in New York, hook me up.
I'll be in New York. I'll be in New York soon.
Well, middle, bottom, top, I would say all 3, because you see different perspectives. You're on the bottom, you're looking up, or you're on top and you're looking down. It's different. I'm trying to find a word for it. Different perspective, different point of views.
Right.
So
right.
That's what makes it great. And also, it's a big exercise. It's fun.
And it's also a big responsibility to be on the foundation of something, right?
Right.
And be the bottom that you're holding up the rest of the group. So, I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, oh, how come you always ask fit? And I do. I always ask the girls one group of questions, like with the pyramids. And the guys, I just keep it, professional. It's like, well, it's a guy. You can't flirt with a guy unless you're gay. So, but with the girls, it's more comfortable and you can say whatever you want. It's more fun. So it's, I wasn't hitting on you or anything, but.
About the human pyramid? Well, I think I should add that to my bucket list. And speaking of pyramids, I would also like to go to the pyramids. How about you? Do you have any other bucket list things that you'd like to do?
I would say, besides becoming famous, I always wanted to skydive, scuba dive. That's really about it. Maybe we get a tattoo. But I always wanted to skydive. That's something I always wanted to do.
Totally doable.
What about you? Do you ever want...
About that.
What about you? Do you ever want to skydive?
video, that they take with it, and I've watched it, and I'm like, I don't think so. My husband did it. He was in the Army. He was a ranger, so they had to skydive, and one of his jumps. I guess it's not called skydiving. It's called jumping or whatever. But one of his jumps, I was invited to go and watch him when we were first married, and somebody was standing by me, and they said, "Oh, that's Rob. He'll be the fourth one out." So I'm watching for him, and he comes out, and his chute is tangled. And I can see that his chute is going like this. So he's frantically, because when your chute gets tangled, you're supposed to pedal your legs.
Yeah.
So he's frantically pedaling his legs, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just got married to this guy. I was going to die. But he got his chute. It was so scary. And, so I have no interest in that. I think God created gravity for a reason, and we should honor and respect that.
Now, do you have any questions for me? I don't want to be one-sided. You can ask me anything you want, say anything you want.
Do you like musical theater?
Well, watching it or being in it?
Either.
I'm open-minded. I like being a part of it and watching it.
Have you ever gone to a musical theater play?
Does Peter Pan count?
Totally. Peter Pan's going to be on live in December. That's a great show. Keith, you have to watch that show.
I never knew. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's going to be on live on NBC December 4th, I think. I can't wait. It's going to be great. But I love musical theater. That's why I asked.
Well, what shows have you gone to?
Well, funny you should ask. My favorite show is Wicked on Broadway. Have you seen Wicked?
Heard of it.
Heard of it? So in December, my daughter's going to play the Green Witch.
Nice.
How exciting is that? So I'll be up there watching her soon.
Hey, if you give me 2 free passes, I would love to meet her.
Yeah, I don't think we even get free passes. But she's awesome. She's a great girl, very talented. So.
Just like her mother.
Well, she's got a little more than I got. She got a little extra, a little something, something.
Now, the other question I was going to ask you is, how did you get into the whole acting thing? Did someone influence you, or was it something you wanted to do at a young age?
Well, my mother exposed me to a lot of musical theater when I was growing up. In fact, I think my first play might have been Peter Pan. Since you mentioned that, I think that may have been. And then I started performing in plays when I was really young. And when I was in high school, we did the musical Grease. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
And that year they were making the movie with John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John, and I auditioned for it, and I got a part. And so I flew out to Hollywood, and I was in that movie, and it was an amazing experience. And that sort of inspired me for the rest of my life up until now, so to keep going. That was really fun. I got to meet John Travolta and Olivia and all the other stars. We had a big party.
Do you still act, or?
Yes, yeah. I'm a freelance actor. I live in the Maryland area, so I do what we have here. I worked on Veep the other day. It's an HBO show that we shoot here, and we have House of Cards here. Have you heard of that?
Yes, I do like Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, that's great, isn't he? So we shoot a lot of stuff in the D.C. area, and so I just work on whatever I can get, and I do some voiceovers and some print work, and I do my podcast. And so.
Well, you mentioned your podcast, so what can you tell us about it?
Well, it's called Happy Healthy You, and I do a lot of what you do. I interview people about living a whole life in mind, body, and spirit with balance and, healthy eating and healthy nutrition and working out, but also emotional health and spiritual health, keeping a good relationship with your higher power so that you're, able to follow your bliss and hear the direction that you're supposed to be going in. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're supposed to be feel like when you decided to do this interview series, how did you decide? How did it come up for you? Were you just inspired one day, or how did that happen?
Well, you want the long story, or you want the short story?
Whatever you want to say. We got plenty of time, right?
Well, basically, I used to work in retail, and I was there about 4 years. And basically, they didn't like the fact, because I had a learning disability, and I worked with an outside organization who helps people with learning disabilities. Basically, the job didn't like that. They wanted to get rid of me, but they couldn't say, "You're fired." They couldn't do that because it ended up being a big lawsuit. So basically, how we're talking now is they told this girl, "Hey, you want to move up in the company, help us get rid of Keith." So how we're talking now, it's basically how me and this girl talked. And then you would pretend you're this girl. You would go in the back saying, "Keith's stalking me, Keith's doing this, Keith's doing that." Then I would get yelled at, and they're like, "Oh, we're just fucking with you, we're having fun with you, we're just doing this, we're just having a good time with you." From April to October, it's day in, day out, being yelled at, whole routine. I spend more time in the bathroom throwing up and having panic attacks. And it's because of that stupid job it shows more, because I used to have panic attacks when I was younger. And
I did too.
And social anxiety. But because of all that incident, it just made it worse. So they couldn't fire me, so they made her a manager, and it still wasn't good enough. So I said, I don't need this. So it took me a whole year to recover. And, it's my fault. I should have left sooner. But, my parents are saying, like, "Oh, you have to work, and if you don't work, you can't live at home anymore." And, so I had basically a gun to my head saying, "Okay, I'm basically screwed, can't do this, and I have to, do what I have to do." So when I was recovering, I went to West Point. I got trained as a custodian. And now, good news is I can work anywhere in New York State as a custodian. If you're doing a little plug, if you want to hook me up.
Sweet. Well, that's cool. So
Yeah.
You live close to West Point?
Yes.
Oh, it's pretty up there. Did you get a lot of snow?
This past winter was ridiculous.
Just recently, I know Buffalo got it, but you're a little farther down. But
Buffalo was like 6 hours away, so we didn't get anything.
Okay. They got slammed.
Yeah, it's ridiculous up there.
So when did you decide, after you left your job, which you obviously needed to do, you probably hung on a little bit longer than
Needed to.
was comfortable. Yeah, that's a tough one, because I know my nephew just had that same, he also has a similar learning disability, I guess. I don't really call it that. I don't really have a label for him, but he had a job, and he had a dream of owning his own karate studio, because he's like a black belt or whatever the highest thing. He's really done exceptionally well at karate.
Oh, that's awesome.
But he had a job. I think he was working at Walmart or something. But it was a good job, and he had benefits and everything. And he'd been there for a while, was doing fine, but he just decided he wanted to pursue this dream of his. And so he quit. And his family was, oh my gosh, they were so up in arms. They didn't know what to do. And, which, I mean, I can understand both sides, but by the same token, he wants to do something with his life. And I don't know. It's hard. It's hard as a parent to know whether to encourage or discourage.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Well, just to finish in the story, I could answer your first question, and we can go on how I can relate to what you were saying.
Yeah.
The first question is, after just doing retail and getting to West Point, I don't want to do this anymore. I tried working at Home Goods for like a day or so. It's like, I can't do it. I don't want to do it anymore. Because my sister and my brother are writing their own books and are doing their own thing, and I'm sitting here And it's like, you're moving forward, and oh, Jesus, I'm moving backwards, or I'm not moving at all. And I was like, well, how can I do what they're doing? And I'm not close to my brother, but I do look up to him, and he did influence me to just, not trying to kiss anyone's ass or anything, but I do look up to him, and so I tried copying what he does, and I created my own talk show. And a year and a half ago, I should have been doing this from the start. What we're doing right now, I should have been doing this from the start. My mistake was it was all phone conversations. Don't ask me why, it was a stupid idea on my part. So I did 72 phone interviews. People from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers to Dragon Ball Z to Spider-Man to anything you can think of. And they were saying, and it still gets to me, why aren't you as big or bigger that you portray yourself to be? Why don't you have any sponsors? Why don't you have any media exposure? This and that. And it's like, okay, well, do you want to help me with that? No. If you can't figure out on your own, then I guess it's not meant to be. And I tried talking to a couple sponsors. Well, what is your demographic? Well, what is your audience? What is this? What is that? And it says, I don't know. Okay. Well, one thing we can tell you is do it over and do it right and see where it goes. And luckily, they were right. I got a sponsor out of it, lifeofafighter.com and Amway.com. And you did mention you like talking about working out, and that's something I want to talk to you after. But to answer your other question, and how I can relate to your nephew, is how he got criticism. A year and a half ago when I started my talk show, no one, except for my mom, I guess it's a woman thing, a female thing, where not sound like an idiot or not, I'm not, just being upfront with you, where it's just the mother has to always be supportive of the son and always, or nephew, and it has to keep him motivated. And no one says, if I said to them a year and a half ago I was going to get 106 interviews, they would say, no, you get your head out of your ass, go get a normal job.
Right.
But now that I do have 106 interviews, and tell you a funny story, my brother was in the city, and I don't know how it came up, but he says, did he ever hear of this talk show Uncensored, or this person doing it was talking about me.
Wow.
And this is coming from a professional, I think, doctor or scientist. It came from both of them. And he kept making fun of it. He's saying, why is he videotaping like this? Why doesn't he do, like you were saying, why don't you record from another thing? But he says, has to be doing something right. And the only thing I had to say to him was, you didn't tell him we were related, right? You just said it like he's my cousin, he's my nephew. You didn't tell him we were related, because he's doing his own thing and I'm doing my own thing and I don't want it to interact and whatever. But the whole point of that was they liked it, and that was coming from two professionals in their field.
Wow.
And that's news to me. I knew people were starting to notice what I'm doing.
Right.
But just to randomly come up like that, that's
pretty cool.
Like a pat on the back. But
yeah, I know when I reached the 100th podcast on Happy Healthy You, I was so shocked. I looked back and I went, how did that happen? It's crazy.
That's true. Now here's a question for you. People who you interviewed the first time, when you tried, say, hey, did you want to do a follow-up? Were they supportive? Say, yeah, I had fun the first time, let's do it the second time? Or were they like, I did it the first time because I wanted to benefit myself, or I wanted to see what I would get out of it? Did he ever get some of that BS?
Not really. I have kind of my vision was I would have this core group of people, I would have the body people that talked about exercise and nutrition, and I would have the mind people that wrote books about, staying healthy emotionally and psychologically, and then I'd have the spiritual people who were kind of the healers, and then I also had a component where I have people who give back to the community and people who are following their bliss. So those are totally different. But I had this core group, and I brought a lot of them back, and they were always really happy to come back. So I haven't really experienced that. People have been pretty generous because it's good PR for them,
Right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for me, people I interviewed the first time, I interviewed people like, I'm trying to get her back on the show, but I interviewed Barbara Goodson, I interviewed Ron Reisman, Kerrigan Mayhem, who was the voice of Goldar, and a couple of CEOs like Patricia Stark I interviewed with, the guy from Life of a Fighter, CEO, and a couple other big names, and half of them, who I mentioned, were very supportive, and other people that are becoming actors or just normal people saying, I only did it the first time because it sounded like a good idea, but I really don't want to do it again. It's like, you just told me you had fun, you would do this any time. Now I'm asking, do you want to do it again? You're like, it's not for me. And so kind of like, okay, you could have just said that the first time instead of dragging me along.
Yeah, but there's been plenty of people out there. It seems like for you, maybe you should just keep driving ahead. And what is your goal? Do you have a goal for these interviews?
Well, besides making a statement, I would like to do something I would be happy for the rest of my life. And just make myself established. And it would be nice to get my own TV show, that's even if it's just syndicated. That's to say, I set my goal, I made it, I can die happy. That's big. That's basically all I want to do is just prove to people.
Yeah. So but your mission is to inspire people. Is that would you say?
Well, to inspire people, make a statement, and just to turn my life into something.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
Same. Well, actually, I decided my mission was peace. Peace on earth. So I feel, okay, here's my theory, my belief. It's a belief, really, is that peace starts within our own hearts and our own souls. And if we, as individuals, are peaceful, we send out sort of good vibes into the universe.
Right.
And if everybody becomes peaceful, then the world is peaceful. It's a long process, but it's got to start from the individual person. So that's why I do my podcasts and actually I just wrote a book as well. So
awesome. What's your book about?
It's called Back to Happy, and it'll be out before the end of the year. I lost my first child to congenital heart disease.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, she was 6, and it was really hard. And I talk about my journey back to happy because I am really happy now. And it was a long time coming. I mean, it was kind of a slow process, but I think there's so many people out there, and I think you realize this, like we talked about in the beginning. Everybody's got something that's, not perfect about their life. They may look perfect, but everybody's got challenges. And there's a lot of people out there that just are really suffering. And if I can give some hope to someone else who may have gone through the same thing as I have, then I'm happy, even if it's just one person. So.
All right. I appreciate it, and like I said, I'm sorry we had to go for that, but
made me stronger. Definitely made me stronger and
absolutely
more compassionate.
Now, just 2 questions before we wrap up. Now, do you think? Just hang on for 1 second. I'm sorry. Are you tired, feeling sluggish, shitty, crappy, feeling like you don't have the energy of doing anything? That's okay. Now introducing on behalf of Neutralites.com, try the SX. Sugar-free. Gives you the boost when you need it. Are you tired, feeling sluggish, shitty, crappy, feeling like you don't have the energy of doing anything? Just take some of these energy bars and it will give you the energy that you need. Are you tired, feeling sluggish, shitty, crappy, feeling like you don't have the energy of doing anything? Try the double X. They give you the strength. We have a special guest. Now you had your doggy in the video. Now we're gonna have my cat.
Cat on the show, sweet.
Hey Cassidy, you wanna give a speech?
Cassie?
Yeah, he wants to make a mess. He was outside howling, so I apologize for just getting up like that. Now you were mentioning, it was a experience, and I basically got into an argument with my eldest brother, and I said, basically, how are you supposed to have a kid? And because I'm not the perfect person in the world, I'm not the smartest, I'm not the dumbest. I do bring stuff on myself, not to be, hey, I'm an asshole, feel sorry for me. But, it's my learning disability, and it's kind of like, if you can't accept me for who I am, then, I'm being upfront with you, how can you have a kid, how can you have a child who has a learning disability when you can't accept your sister or your brother who has a learning disability? It's like, isn't it kind of like practice if you can handle and help them with their life, and okay, now I have a son or I have a daughter, or in your case you have a nephew who has a learning disability. Now I've gone through this growing up, now I have the experience of doing this, and it now makes me a better person. Do you agree with that, or it depends on the person?
Are we talking about your brother now?
Well, just hypothetically.
Well, I believe that every experience in life that's challenging can turn us into better people if we handle it the right way.
The reason also, not to bring up my brother or anything, but the reason I brought it up to my manager, his store manager, he's an asshole. And he said to me, I don't know how to handle people like you. I don't know how to work with people like you. And then I was biting my lip because earlier in the day he made a joke about his son, and his son made like a racist joke because he talked to an Indian guy, and he says, Daddy, how come you're talking to this tan man? And it's like, you know what, right there, kids imitate everything their parents say. It's going to say, hey, your kid's got to grow up and be a real racist. But it didn't.
Yeah.
But
there are people in the world that are just on different levels of evolution, I like to say, and he's not on a very high level of evolution, that boss of yours, obviously. And, you probably had some hints earlier on that it was time to move on and get another job because he was treating you badly, or I don't know. Did you feel like?
Well, I'm still there for now, but I can leave anytime I want. But I'm just like.
You shouldn't talk about him like this. I know you're still there.
That's fine. It's freedom of expression. But he knows when he hired me, I had a learning disability. So it's like, hello, you should work with me, not if I do I give you a perfect mistake, and then we can go to a happier subject. So if I make a mistake, he jumps down my throat. But if someone else makes a mistake, oh, don't worry about it. And so I kind of what? You can't have it both ways. You can't take their side and be buddy and joking around and look at me like, oh, jeez, he's here again.
Yeah, it's not very compassionate, is it?
No.
He wouldn't like it if people treated him that way.
That's
what
true.
I mean. We have to like just follow the golden rule. Do unto others as we want them. We would treat others like we want them to treat us. You know, it's very simple. The world would be such a better place.
I didn't mean to complain to you. I apologize.
No, it's okay. It makes me mad.
Well, wrapping up, do you have any funny stories or funny pranks you pulled on people over the years?
Oh my gosh, I'm so not a prankster, and I can't ever remember a joke. I wish. Do you have any good jokes you could teach me that I could remember forever?
I can probably think of something. I'm slow in the beginning, but if I think of it, I can let you know. But funny stories that I did, or not really funny stories, the stupid things I did. I got into someone else's car.
Accidentally?
Yes.
Oh. I've almost done that many times, so I don't think that's so stupid.
The other thing is, I almost got in a fight with this customer. Basically, this guy came in with a big cowboy hat. I didn't know if he was trying to be like Indiana Jones or Crocodile Dundee or whatever. And he said, "Howdy, mate. I'm here for this jacket. This jacket is broken. I'd like to return." Okay, no problem. And I was called the manager on my mic. Hey, we need to return. And it's okay. Waiting for the manager to come out. So I said, "So, what happened?" And he said, "Are you being a smartass to me?" And I said, "No, I'm being professional. I just asked you a simple question. What happened? How did it break?" That's it. Cause, you know, that's what they ask you, and then probably ask you the same thing if you go Sears or JCPenney. Do you know how this happened, or what happened to it? Whatever. It's freaking retail, but I just asked. And I walked into the back. Actually, before I walked in the back, he was giving me the evil eye. And I leaned over the counter and said, "Hey, look, I didn't mean to offend you. I wasn't being a smartass. I was doing my job. I asked you a question." Now, I went into the back, and this guy told the manager completely something else. Like, I was rude. I said, "How did you break it?" And it's kind of like, what? And I know it's the link, customer's always right. And I hate retail, and it's one of those stupid things that I was pissed, but I was laughing because my dad told me to not take it seriously. So I was thinking about if I really didn't want to keep the job, how I would have been sarcastic. Like, are you being sarcastic to me? Maybe. It's kind of like, you know, I like screwing with people, but it's kind of like...
Yeah, it's hard to do in a retail establishment. One of the things I've learned, because my husband and I have had a business for, almost 30 years now, is just what your dad said. Don't take things personally, because customers come in and, you know, they are right. They are always right, but they aren't always nice. And you just can't take things personally. So try not to do that. I feel like your mother. Don't take things personally. Don't take things to heart. You know, that boss of yours, if he's bullying you like that, he's got karma. Just turn the other cheek and be as kind as you can, and it will always come out in your favor.
I appreciate it. Now, wrapping up, do you have anything you want to talk about, any subjects, or anything you want to say to your fans and listeners?
I don't know if I have fans and listeners. I hope I do. I hope I have a few. I'm really excited about my book that's coming out, Back to Happy, and what my dream is. I really want to go into bookstores and do some readings of it, or maybe some groups of. There's some groups called Compassionate Friends. It's a national group that parents who have lost children meet monthly or weekly. I don't even know anymore. I used to go, but I don't go anymore. But and do discussions about the book. That's sort of what I'm passionate about right now, because I'm really excited to try to help people. So, that's all I got. Me and Wilson here.